Eric Church Free the Machine Tour. Live at Wells Fargo Arena, Saturday, September 27th. One epic night of music that you won't want to miss with special guest Marcus King Band. Get tickets now at highvtix.com. His new album, Evangeline vs. the Machine, is out now. For more, visit ericchurch.com.
Spring has sprung in the great state of Iowa, and if you've been thinking about getting outdoors with your family during the best time of year, we want to help you here at Plaza RV. We are a locally owned RV dealer in Bondurant who cares about our customers before, during, and most importantly, after your purchase. Give us a chance. We will treat you like family. Buy local. Buy from Plaza RV.
What's up? Welcome to Bigger Than 12. We're recording on Monday, May 19th. This will come out Tuesday morning. I'm Jake Brend, joined by Derek Duke down in Texas, and I'm sorry to tell you that we got rain, and you didn't.
Not going to knock your power out, though, is it?
Well, it shouldn't, but I should probably knock on wood. I don't know if I have any.
I think if it happened here, we'd have to shut everything down. The whole studio here would be shut down. We might just have to pack it up and record next week if that happened.
I'm afraid that us even talking about rain is going to shut your power down. So maybe we should just shut up.
Yeah, probably. We'll probably stop talking about it.
No, some much needed rain. Sorry, I bumped a cord. Some much needed rain up here in the great state of Iowa. As always, we're presented by WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax. It is the best time to go meet with Tim Hawkins and his team of professionals. No matter what stage of life you're in, whether you are a recent grad, whether you're well into your adult life, or whether you are nearing retirement age, WealthCharter is the place to go to get your future set up just right. Hawkins is really smart, and his entire team has nothing but your best interests in mind. We got a good show in store for you today. We're going to go over the Circa Big 12 over-unders. I can't wait for that. I'm going to talk a little 16-team playoff. And then I had to be convinced. Big 12 baseball.
Oh,
no, I'm kidding.
That was all me. That was my idea.
We're going to have, Derek's going to, that's his beat down at Heartland College Sports, and he's going to give us a bit of the rundown heading into the Big 12 tournament. And then our draft for the week, it's become my favorite part of the week. We're going to draft the Big 12 primary logos. Good show for you on hand on Bigger Than 12. Aiden White, as always, behind the mic producing the show. So let's start with the Circa Sports Iowa Big 12 odds. Ooh. What stands out to you when you see that graphic?
So when I look at this as a whole, I don't think there's necessarily any true surprises for me when it comes to just one specific team. Now, I do have opinions here and there on certain teams, of course, but for me, this was a big picture thing. Just in general, when you look at the conference as a whole, what I see is just the total crapshoot. The highest win total in the conference is at 8.5, which is extremely low. If you look in fact, if it's the lowest of all the Power Four conferences, because every other power conference, they have a win total of at least their highest team is set at least 9.5. So, and what I see from this list is two things: one good, one bad. And I'll give a shout out to Chris Hassel on Two Guys last week. He kind of mentioned this, but the bad part about this is the Big 12 will likely once again have one playoff team, and that's going to be, of course, whoever wins in Arlington. Now, that's going to make for a great conference championship game because it's essentially going to be a play-in game, and no other conference can say that of the Power Four at least. But unless you have total chaos in the SEC or the Big Ten, like, you have to have two elite teams from the Big 12 for a chance to get into the playoff, because otherwise your chances of getting two in are very slim. And then for the Big 12, I mean, you're probably going to have a team at the end of the year be undefeated, and then maybe a one-loss team meet that undefeated team. And of course, that one-loss team would have to beat the undefeated team. But it's total mess. I mean, but the good thing is, though, for us at least, is you look how even these teams are. You have 8 teams within a win of each other, and between 7.5 and 8.5. And I mean, 8. To me, that's wild. And then you have 11 teams out of a 16-team conference between 6.5 and 8.5. That's crazy. So what this shows me is that this conference is going to be a wild and crazy ride. If you want to look up the word parity, the Big 12 logo should be right next to it, because that's what this league's going to be. And nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, hell, you just look at last season, Jake. We had Arizona in the win the Big 12 after being picked dead last. They ended up winning the conference, and not to mention BYU and Colorado were picked in the bottom 5, and both were within arm's reach of getting to Arlington. So what this list shows to me is that the Big 12 is wide open once again, and each and every week in this conference is going to be entertaining.
You alluded to it, and I'm going to choose to see the positive out of this, and it's the fact that it's going to make the Big 12 regular season more important than any other league. Because look at that. 3 teams at 8.5, 5 teams at 7.5. You could see all 7 of those teams easily. You could easily see all 7 of those teams playing for a Big 12 championship in Dallas. What other league in the country is there that much real parity? Sure, in the Big 10, you could talk, maybe Indiana can sneak in, but you don't really believe that. This you can say, oh yeah, TCU 6.5. I could easily see a world where they're playing for a Big 12 championship. And that goes back to the point that I've been making really since we started this show. And we'll get into it with the 16-team playoff too. I do not care about the college football national championship, and I don't care that much about the college football playoff. If I compare it to another sport that I love, the NBA, it's kind of the inverse. I kind of care about the regular season. I enjoy watching my team, but the entire year for me is judged on how my team performs in the playoffs. And honestly, the only way that I determine legacies for players and coaches, it's the playoffs. That's not how I do it in college football. College football, my joy comes from the Saturdays. It comes from home games on awesome campuses with tailgating. And you can't look at those win totals and tell me that the Big 12 is not going to be electric this year, and it's gonna captivate my attention the entire season. And I can't wait for that 1 or 2 teams in the playoff be damned. I don't really care.
Yeah, it still gets me that the fact that the highest win total at the Big 12 is set at 8.5, like that is crazy. And you have 3 teams all set at that 8.5 with Arizona State, Tech, and Kansas State. So to me, that's just wild. And again, the parity, these teams are just so damn similar just across the board. That's why this conference is just so unpredictable, and that's what makes it a great product to me, because I think week in and week out, it is a roller coaster ride because you never know truly what is going to happen. We've tried to pick this conference last year, week by week, and it was a disaster for the most part. I mean, it was pretty hard to even break 500 because you just never knew what was going to truly happen. So I'm really excited for the season. It's going to be another great fun year. But at some point, I think one of these Big 12 teams is going to have to take a hold of this conference. Maybe that's Texas Tech now with the money that they're throwing around. Somebody needs to take this conference by the throat and make it theirs, because we do need a flagship program in the Big 12. And I think that's going to help nationally when it comes to respect from other conferences, commissioners, the playoff committee, whoever it may be. I do think we need somebody to step up year in and year out, be that team that's always near the top or playing for a Big 12 title.
So we're going to try and predict this conference.
Oh,
We're probably not going to do a very good job of doing it.
not right now, no.
Well, not right now. Probably not in August. Probably not during the season either. But definitely not right now. But I think we've each got, I don't think it's fair to call them locks, because they're definitely not locks.
Picks we like.
Yeah, we'll call them 4 picks that we both like. I don't know about you, but I had 2 unders and 2 overs.
Okay.
Did you do the same?
No, I actually went teams that I thought that could push the over. So I kind of look at it more.
So you went all 4 overs.
I went overs. I looked at teams that I think that can go overs because when I look at the unders here, I feel like, again, just in general, when your highest win total is set at 8.5 and only 3 teams have that, everybody else is between 6 and 7.5. There's how many teams in that range? I think it's going to be easier to start pushing teams over than it would be under because the bar to me is already set so low across the board.
Okay, so you just share your overs, make a small case for all of them, and then I'll see how much we agree or disagree.
So I decided to kind of do this by groups here because I think there's a few win total groups here, and I wanted to share kind of my favorite from each tier. So from that top group of Kansas State, Arizona State, and Tech, they're all set at 8.5. I would say Kansas State's probably the best play out of those top 3 teams, and it's due to their schedule is a lot lighter than Arizona State's and Texas Tech's. So I think Kansas State would be a solid lock for over 8.5. Of that group of 7.5, you see there Baylor, Kansas, BYU, Iowa State, and Utah. I have 2 teams. I couldn't decide which one. I think one probably would be Baylor. So I think Baylor could be one of those schools who ends up with maybe 8, possibly 9 wins with their schedule. So I would punch the over on the Baylor Bears there. And then with Iowa State's Big 12 schedule, outside of Kansas State early on, I feel like it's fairly light. So they could be a team that I think could end up with 6 wins before the middle of October comes around. So I think they could push that over 7.5 mark. And then those 3 teams at 6.5 there, I think it's 6. Yeah, 6.5. There's 4 teams, excuse me. Houston, Cincy, TCU, and Colorado. I mean, give me TCU. I had them as my most underrated team a couple weeks ago here on the show. And I will say this, that schedule for TCU is brutal if you look at it.
Yep.
So, but if they do what I think they're capable of doing, I think that's a team that could push for 8 wins, maybe 9, if all goes that way. And then, of course, there's the bottom feeders in the conference, Arizona, Oklahoma State, UCF, and West Virginia, all set at 5.5. I would probably take, I don't know, out of that group, I might take a flyer on Oklahoma State, but I wouldn't feel really good about it either. So I don't know. That to me, that's a really tough group to pick from. Also would kind of maybe give a shout out to Houston. I think that could maybe be a sneaky play. I know we're with Circa, they have them at 6.5. There's other sites that do have them at 5.5. I think that's a much better play at 5.5 if you're able to get Houston there, because one thing we know about Willie Fritz, they're going to be better in the passing game with Connor Wegman at quarterback. But I think one thing with them is we see them get better as the season goes on under Willie Fritz. So I don't know. That could be a sneaky play if you get them at 5.5. But those are kind of my tiers and teams that I like to push the over there.
Okay, so I'm in agreement with you on TCU. I did have a little pause because of their schedule. Mm-hmm. It is not easy, but I'm with you where I believe that they've got one of the 3 or 5 best quarterbacks in the conference. And you'd think after a year of a lot of bad luck that they would get a little bit of good luck. I think they're a 7-win team. But yeah, they've got SMU, which was in the college football playoff last year. They got smoked by them last year.
It's a rivalry game.
They go to Arizona State, to K-State, to BYU. I might be having a little bit of pause on my flyer for them to win the league, but I still think they're a 7-win football team. Another over, Kansas. We saw the type of team that Kansas was at the end of last season. I still think that the 2024 year, when you look at it from a point of view, like in a 10-year span, I think 2024 is just going to be a blip that you can see, man, when something could go wrong, everything went wrong. I think Kansas bounces back and they become an 8-win team again and are in the hunt for the Big 12 title. So those are my 2 overs. And then the 2 unders I went, it wasn't necessarily because I dislike this team, but if you're giving me 6.5 with Houston, if I can take an under and still hit when they're 6-6, which is where I'd probably put them, between that 5-7, 6-6 range, I'm going to take it. I think Willie Fritz will have that team much improved compared to year 1, but there's still a lot of parity, and they still have a lot of room to grow on offense. I know they've got Weigman coming in from Texas A&M, but it's hard for me to say that I can envision them going 7-5. Just looking at it from the outside looking in. And my other under, it's in the same realm. It's Cincinnati. I don't like Cincinnati. And if you're going to give me 6 flat, and if I can have the insurance of a push of them going 6-6 and getting my money back, I'm sorry. I'm betting against Scott Satterfield, and I will have no hesitation in doing that. That might actually be a play that I go and make on Circa as we get closer to the season.
Yeah, I would agree with those. I think on Kansas, I think 7.5, maybe pushing it. I do like Jalen Daniels a lot. Again, it's going to depend on what Jalen Daniels we do see during the season. A healthy one can
or
be really good.
If we see him, that's a big part.
That's another thing. I think Baylor would probably be my play there, and Iowa State. Kansas is a good sneaky pick. I do feel like a lot of people are probably sleeping on the Jayhawks this year. Houston, again, one of those teams at 6.5, I don't really like them that much. At 5.5, I could be bought into maybe putting that in play, just because I do think they will be much improved. I mean, they went four games last year. If they had any respectable passing game, I think that could have been a team that maybe pushed for 6 wins a year ago in year 1 in the Big 12. So that would have been really big, but I don't know. Some of these other teams, you're right, with TCU, that to me, the schedule, which is so tough, and that did cause some pause for me because I can't talk right now, but some concern for me because of that schedule, because you mentioned who they play on the road. Just their road schedule's tough, and that's not including who they're going to be playing at home this season. So there's some really good plays, I feel like, and then there's some really rough ones. Another one we might want to mention would be Utah at 7.5. I don't know if the Utes are going to get there either, because I don't know if it's a name thing or the Kyle Whittingham effect, because they weren't even close to a team last year that was going to win anything, because they didn't make a bowl game last year. So a lot of people are starting to kind of buy up stock in Utah as well.
Listen to their last 3 games. At Baylor, K-State at home, at Kansas. So if they're in any sort of contention, which I don't anticipate them being in contention, that's how they have to close the season. So yeah. I think Utah under 7.5 might be a smart play just to get on. Like, we know why they're that high, because Vegas knows that there's probably people out there that will play the over because they know, oh yeah, Utah, they won the Pac-12 2 years ago, blah, blah, blah. I still don't think it's the same Utah program, and I think there's probably a lot of value in hitting the under. But
yeah,
it's fun to have these in it. It's just so crazy to look at these numbers. So many so close to each other. Somebody is going to have to. They're going to have to break away from the pack. You'd think.
You would hope so. I mean,
like, you'd think there's got to be an 11-win team in there. It's just, who is it?
I think that's the problem, trying to figure this whole thing out, because whoever wins this conference, to me, is going to have at the very least 9 to 10 wins. I don't see a 4-loss team winning the Big 12 this season. So that, I don't think that's going to happen. So I do think there's going to be probably a 10-win team in Arlington come championship weekend.
It's just a matter of which teams do you trust to not screw it up? Like, you can think on paper, yeah, K-State, Texas Tech, Arizona State, you can think that those teams, oh, yeah, well, they'll be favored in 11 of their games, or they'll be favored in 10 of their games. But we've seen Avery Johnson lose games that he shouldn't the last couple of years. Texas Tech is still Texas Tech despite all the money. Until proven otherwise, I'm not going to trust Texas Tech to run the table against every game they're going to win. And Arizona State, I'm sure they're due for just a slight regression to the mean after last year. But yeah, there's still just no blue blood that you can just bank on.
Nope.
Like an old Oklahoma. Like, you just knew Oklahoma, they probably weren't going to go into Lubbock and lose that often. They probably weren't going to get upset at home by TCU. like we can see with pretty much any other team in this league. And that's what makes it great. I can't wait. It's going to be so fun to watch.
Well, Oklahoma was good for an upset or two during the season. Right at Kansas State a lot of times.
Yeah, especially towards like the later Lincoln Riley years. I'm more talking like the like late Stoops into early Riley when they just really didn't lose any games that they shouldn't have lost.
That's fair. Maybe next week we need to look at the odds just to win the Big 12 in general. I thought those were going to be pretty fascinating too. We can kind of maybe pick some teams that we think would be some sneaky good plays this year.
Yeah, that's a good topic to have down the road. We're going to jump to the 16-team playoff first. Thank you to Freedom Tire. It's a good time to go to Freedom Tire. I feel like all I'm doing right now is sitting in construction on the interstate, on any road, because there's a ton of potholes and there's cracks in the road everywhere. You want your car to be at its tip-top shape at this time of year because you don't want to smoke a pothole and pop a tire. And if you do pop a tire, then Quentin Crowner and his team at Freedom Tire would be a perfect place to go. They've got locations all over the metro, all the way up to Ames, then down in Altoona, Des Moines, West Des Moines, and Urbandale. Take your car in for any tire needs or really any general auto body needs. Quentin Crowner and his team will take care of you. The 16-team playoff, it feels inevitable because of the greed and all the nonsense within the college football committee. I have been well documented on my opinions on a 16-team playoff, but what do you think, Derek? Is 16 the right number? Should it be higher? Should it be lower? Just right?
Unfortunately, I just don't think we have a choice to determine that, thanks to, like you said, the Big Ten and the SEC. And let me be clear, I'm fine with the current 12-team format. I think that 12 was more than sufficient enough to determine a champion. We don't need 16 teams to figure out who's the best team in college football. And the only reason it is moving to 16 is because of the greedy bastards that are running college football, essentially. So the Big Ten and the SEC want as many of their teams in as possible, and moving to a 16-team playoff would be ideal for them because they've already kind of set their own format. They each want 4 teams from their own conference. So no matter what, right there, half the teams are in the playoff are going to be from 2 conferences. So, and then you're going to get 2 maybe from the Big 12 and the ACC, which you go, that's 12 teams now, and then group of 6, 3 at-large bids. So we all know who's going to get the at-large bids too. It's definitely going to favor, of course, the Big Ten and the SEC. So you could see as many as, if they get all the at-large bids, 11 teams from the Big Ten and the SEC in the playoff, which is, it's stupid to anyone outside of those 2 conferences. And I understand the argument that this will be good for some, but I just don't see a need for 16 at this point to figure out who the best team is. At what point does it stop? Like, are we going to have March Madness in the fall where we have 68 teams in the playoff? Like, come on. Like, I think I would be okay with the 16 teams if it was in a fair playoff structure. But again, the problem's not necessarily the number of teams. It's just the format of how we're going to get there.
So I pulled up the final AP poll from the last season. And I know it's not exact because the college football playoff does their own rankings, but just for the sake of argument, can you tell me who the 16th team was at the end of last college football season?
No, and I probably didn't bother to even care at that point who the 16th team was, but
Illinois.
Oh, joy. They would have been
so if we had a college football playoff, a 16-team playoff last year, Illinois would have played Oregon. Is that right? Oregon was the number 1 seed.
So 2 teams from the same conference?
Yeah, so maybe that's not a great... Illinois would have played Georgia and gotten their doors blown off. I don't think we need games like that. Why do we need a game to prove that the 16th team belongs? I just don't think we need it.
No.
And I know over time, at least I hope over time, that we see the 12-team playoff, you see more teams getting their shot. maybe it level out the competition a little bit, and maybe it will make for more parity within the sport. But that's just a long process that it's going to take. And all we need is 1 or 2 years of an upset over the number 1 seed early or the number 2 seed early for maybe it to be proven right that, oh yeah, we should have expanded the playoff. But I still just worry that the greatest college football regular season games that we play every year will not mean as much. And eventually, the more and more and more that happens, it morphs more into the NFL. But if college football, if it's transforming into the NFL, it's just going to be the NFL but a worse product. And that's where I want NFL separate, college football separate, because both have their own strengths and weaknesses. If you're just looking for quality of football, there's no better than the NFL. So if college football is trying to be the NFL, it's going to fail every year, just like college basketball doesn't try to be the NBA. If March Madness was the top 16 teams playing a best of 7 series, sure, you would determine the best team, but it wouldn't be the same as March Madness, and it definitely wouldn't be as good as the NBA playoffs. So that's where I caution the sport. Try to stay as true to what's good about college football as possible. I know we've gone a long ways away from that with all the nonsense that we don't need to spend time on. But that's just my worry, is if... And look, Alabama was the 17th team. They'd be the last team out of this hypothetical 16-team playoff. They went 9-4. Do you know how much that means? Their loss against Georgia or whoever or Tennessee, it just doesn't matter. And all of a sudden, when you've got 100,000 people packed into Knoxville, that game means so much less than it would otherwise. And I just really don't want to get to that point.
Yeah, and Alabama got curb stomped by a terrible Oklahoma team on national TV. They had like a Saturday night primetime spot.
That was awesome.
And they just got their ass whipped, and people wanted them in the playoff. There's no way you could have put them in the playoff after that game.
But I can assure you that if it was between Alabama and Illinois for the 16th spot in the college football playoff,
it wouldn't be close.
You know exactly who's going in. And you know exactly, if Oregon's the number 1 seed, you know exactly who they want in. And it's not Alabama.
Nope.
So, I don't know. Then you'd have the nonsense calling, oh, Cinderella, Alabama. They've backs against the wall, uphill climb, getting in the playoff at 9-4. That's what we're destined for.
We should have the Big Ten commissioner and Greg Sankey just fist fight it out for that last playoff spot. I'd pay to see that.
Well, when you've got so many teams in the SEC, so many good teams, so many elite programs with a lot of money, every year there's going to be an SEC team like Alabama, like Tennessee, Georgia, Texas A&M, you name it, Ole Miss, that'll be 9-4 or 8-5. And those will be the teams that have every advantage in the world known to man. Every single one of them. And they will have a disappointing season, and you bet your ass they are still getting in the playoff. That goes against everything that's great about this sport. And I desperately, desperately do not want that to happen.
No. I don't think anybody does, honestly. But again, it's all about money, greed, power, all those things that are going to factor in how we're going to play this playoff moving forward in 2026.
Got me worked up. Thanks for putting that on the rundown.
Yeah. Had to.
Did you have any other thoughts on the 16-team playoff? I wrote down format, but the more I think about it, I think the format would be, it's a 16-team bracket, so you go 1 through 16, blah, blah, blah. Just like an NCAA tournament field. I guess there's probably the auto bids that will be, it seems like it's pretty set in stone, like what you laid out earlier. The 4 teams from the 2 big leagues, 2 and 2, and then kind of the rest is It'll most likely be in Akron, and then the 3 Big Ten and SEC teams that probably didn't have seasons that deserve it.
I think just one of the big things for me, not getting rid of the buys when it comes to the format. I know that the Big Ten and the SEC want to do away with those, but I kind of like the 4 top champions getting a bye.
Wait, how would you do buys in a 16-team playoff, though?
You can do 4, right? 4 games playing, and then wait the 4 teams waiting. No, that would not work, would it?
Because that's how it is right now with the 12.
That's true. That's true. I guess I didn't really think about that one all the way through there. See what I get? I get myself into trouble for thinking about this damn playoff.
Unless you maybe do a double bye situation.
I did look into that possibility as well, but I just don't think commissioners are going to go on board for a double bye. But I personally would not be opposed to that because, again, you won your conference.
Honestly, you could talk me into a double bye because with everything I just said, that adds incentive to the regular season. If you can be the 4 seed, and that means that you're as the 4 seed, you're either going to play the 5 or the 12 most likely coming up. If you could be the 5 seed and if you could be the 4 seed and play the 12 seed that just had to play 2 grueling games, that is such an advantage that makes Ohio State, Michigan mean a ton again. But I didn't even think about double buys before this. It just kind of came to my mind, so I haven't had time to completely think that through.
It's not going to happen.
I could be talked into that as the trade-off for expanding the playoff, because even if you're the 16 seed at that point, man, you're in trouble, because it'd be like the 16 against the 9 seed, and then that winner would have to play the 8 seed. So even if Alabama sneaks in, if they can prove it 2 games in a row and actually sneak into the real quarterfinals, good for them, I guess. I wouldn't hate that.
And there's been talk about eliminating the buys, and it appears that the Big 12 and the ACC were both kind of okay with that. And instead, we're going to reward the top 4 teams in the college football playoff selection committee's final rankings. So, and I think we all know who those top 4 teams are going to be and what conferences they're going to be from. So, I don't know. I also wouldn't be opposed to, and this is kind of a one from left field, giving every conference champion a spot in the playoff. I mean, that might be a pipe dream if we structured a fair playoff, but I would like to think that every conference champion would have a shot or at least a ticket to the dance. I mean, they do it in college basketball. College basketball does it with every conference, but
right now you're running as a third-party politician with absolutely no funding behind you. You're like, I want to stick up for the little guy.
Yes,
and then
I do.
The big Republican Party and the big Democratic Party
smash me.
Both look down at you and just laugh.
Oh yeah,
because in theory, I agree. It would be awesome if the Sun Belt champion got a shot. I know they'd lose by 65, but
still,
it'd be in the spirit of the game. But yeah,
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, give them the 16th. Give them the 16th seed. I don't care. Give a Sun Belt team a chance. Give a Conference USA school a chance. I don't know. So that, or I think you could even. There was a point I did read the other day where you could add a 6th conference champion if you do your Power 4s. You get your 2 top group of 6 programs that are conference champions. Put them in there, and then you could still put in, at-large bids. So I wouldn't be opposed to that because, like last year, I think it was Boise State was in the top 10. Army was in the top 25 as a conference champion. So if we would have used that format last season, both of those schools would have been in. But I don't know.
I can't wait.
I don't know.
I can't wait until 7-5 LSU gets left out as the 17th team. And then the meetings that year, Greg Sankey's like, why do we not have play-in games? Are you serious? And then the next year, we're going to have the 15 playing the 18 and the 16 playing the 17. And eventually, we're going to have 3-9 Kentucky playing for a college football playoff, and it's going to be glorious.
Can't make a bowl game, but you get in the playoff. That'd be great. Yeah. It's such I'm at the point, just get rid of the damn automatic teams going in from the SEC, the Big Ten. If you want to just do top 12, just do top 12 or 16, whatever you got to do. I don't care, but get rid of the automatic teams. I think that's just so stupid.
Just let the robots do it. They're already going to kill us eventually anyways. So let's just put the robots back in charge of determining the playoff.
I'm okay with that. Maybe the aliens. Let the aliens and the robots combine. Get them both in. We're going way, way off track.
You think an alien's ever had a Busch Light or an Ames Lager at a tailgate?
Their mind would not comprehend. Their mind wouldn't know what to do with that.
Keep the aliens away from my great sport, please.
Yeah.
All right, we went way too off topic. Aiden, please come save the day with the Iowa trivia question.
Bring us back to
Earth.
Earth.
About rainfall earlier. So, Derek, what is the average rainfall total in the state of Iowa?
Oh, I know what it is down here, and it's not good. I'm gonna guess 28 inches per year.
Jake, you have a guess?
Yeah, I was gonna say like 35.
According to WeatherStim, the long-term average annual rainfall for Iowa is 32.66.
Dang, we like
inches.
split the difference.
Yeah, you guys
Damn.
split the difference right there.
I almost said 30. Golly. No, I have not seen. I could tell you honestly, I don't think I've seen 30 inches of rain, 32 inches of rain in the last 2 years combined. I can pretty much guarantee you that.
Poor bastard.
We're like at less than 10 for the year.
Those poor fish down there in Texas.
Well, down here, there's not any fish. You have to go somewhere else for that. At least where I'm at. You can go to a different part of Texas and probably get something, but not here. You can get a rock. I can catch plenty of rocks. You want a couple rocks.
All right, well, speaking of Texas, college baseball is a big deal down there. It is not a big deal up here. So, your tight end. Give me a little preview of the Big 12 baseball tournament. Who's good, who's not, who's an underdog, who I guess maybe I'll start with this question. If I want the Big 12 to win the College World Series, what team should I want representing the conference in Omaha?
You're going to want TCU or West Virginia. West Virginia just won the conference last weekend despite getting swept by Kansas, but they still ended up winning the conference. I know we haven't brought up baseball at all really this year, but I did want to bring it up for the show because as you can see on the screen there, the Big 12 tournament starts this week, Wednesday in Arlington on Fact. So it looks like we have 7 teams right now that are projected in to make a regional with TCU, West Virginia, Kansas, Arizona State, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State. As of right now, according to D1Baseball.com, TCU is the only projected regional host, even though West Virginia, I know it sounds crazy, even though West Virginia won the Big 12 regular season title, TCU has the RPI and inside the top 20. They finished third in the conference, so that's going to help them big time there. So, and then you have, West Virginia, Kansas, Arizona, Kansas State. They're all projected 2 seeds right now, which means those teams are pretty much a lock to make the postseason. Cincinnati and Oklahoma State kind of on the outside looking in, projected 3 seeds. To me, those are 2 teams that probably need to win at least a pair of games in Arlington to punch their ticket, especially Oklahoma State, which ironically enough, who was the favorite to win the Big 12, is really kind of on that bubble right now. So if you're kind of just looking as a whole here, as a fan, a casual fan, the 4 most important teams to watch this week are going to be the top 2 and the bottom 2. So I say TCU and West Virginia. Both of those teams need a strong week to make sure they can get a hosting bid, because hosting a regional is a very, very big deal in college baseball. And then kind of towards the bottom, Oklahoma State and Cincy, who I just mentioned, they're going to have to win a game or 2 to secure a spot in the field of 64, because if they both go winless, there's a good chance that both of them could be left out, and then we're stuck with only 5 Big 12 teams in the postseason.
So what do you think Texas Tech should do at third base? I know Peyton Schultz has been struggling a little bit in their last series against UCF. What a
we're not gonna deep dive that much into college baseball.
No, what I did was I just pulled up a random team. I went to their last game, and I just found a random name. I was gonna try and put you on the spot, see if you knew, but
I wouldn't fall for it. We're not going to deep dive into baseball. I wanted to mention it because
I
think it's an
appreciate
important week.
I appreciate the overview, because I usually do, like, once the super regionals roll around, that's where I kind of localize it and see, like, okay, what local Des Moines kids or what Iowa kids are key contributors on some team, and then I just see who's interesting. What interesting teams can get to Omaha, and then I become a college baseball fan for a couple weeks. But I'm definitely not in the trenches like you are all season long.
Yeah, TCU and West Virginia are going to be probably the heavy favorites for the Big 12. Kansas, pretty damn good. This is actually going to be the first time Kansas is going to pretty much make the postseason, I think, in 11 years. So it's been a long time. Dan Fitzgerald's done a great job with that team in Lawrence. So that's going to be exciting
Shout out Brady Blake, my neighbor growing up. He plays ball for Kansas.
Hey, that's pretty cool segue.
Pride of Indianola. Nephew of MLB, not Hall of Famer, former MLB player Casey Blake. Should be a Hall of Famer.
Really? Okay. Well, actually, Kansas, we're going to kind of go deep dive. Kansas has Brady Council, son of Craig Council,
Really?
playing for them too. So yeah, they've got a couple MLB sons there playing for them. So that's a pretty cool little tidbit there. But yeah, just kind of wanted to get an overview of the Big 12 tournament. Going to be a fun week in Arlington. I'm not going to be there. I will be watching like a hawk from morning until late at night. These games go like, some of them will go to like 1 a.m. sometimes. It gets crazy depending on how the day goes. But yeah,
man, how are you going to pass the time? I can't even imagine.
I don't know. I'm sure the listeners probably could figure it out if they had to guess.
All right, well, that's your baseball talk for the week. Oh, don't worry, I'll be locked into every game too, and we'll have a complete and thorough deep dive on next week's show.
Maybe not till the regionals. Let's wait for the regionals. We'll
okay. All righty. Well, let's close things out with a draft. Big 12 primary logos. Only primary. So just picture you're flipping it to ESPN to watch a game, and it's whatever logo that they've got on their little score bug. Next week, we're going to do some secondary or throwback logos, but this week it's all primary logos. So I think you went first last week. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I'll go first this week. This was hard because
it's not easy.
I didn't realize there's just a lot of plain logos, not just Big 12 specific, but in college sports in general.
Yep.
A lot of the logos I like are the throwback logos. But for my 1-1, I'm going to go with the Kansas Jayhawks.
Wow.
I think this is the logo that looks the best on a basketball court in the middle. It's creative. It's not, I hate minimalism, and it's not minimalistic. Good colors, good beak. That's my KU logo analysis. It caught you off guard, I see.
Good beak. Yeah, I just think on the football helmets, they look so bad. I do not like that logo on a football helmet at all. So no, I can't go there. I'm going to go Colorado with my first pick here. I think the Buffs, great logo, black. I love black. Got the CU, the buffalo on it. I think that's one of the iconic logos to me, at least. If you're talking about just plain primary logos, I think that's the best one of the Big 12 in my opinion. So I'm going to go Colorado. Second one, it's kind of tough. I mean, there's kind of a mix of schools for me, but I know people don't like it because they like the throwbacks, and Arizona's are great, but I'm going to go with the Arizona A. I think it's really cool. I like the coloring in it. It's not just some plain A. It's not like Alabama's A or when Arkansas tries to do their little cursive A. It's a solid block A, but the coloring scheme in it I think is really nice. So I'm going to go, Colorado and then Arizona with my two picks here.
And I'm going to go across state, and I'm going to go with Arizona State. it's the Sun Devil, or not the Sun Devil, but it's the Trident. Good colors, not the best use of red and yellow in the Big 12, but it's not bad colors. But I just think it's recognizable. You can know who it is without it needing to be something like I-State or, that's what I kind of look for in a logo. I think it looks good on a helmet, and it's creative enough. And with my next pick, I'll go K-State. Kind of the same realm as Arizona State. You know exactly what it is when you see it. It's creative. It's been ripped off by plenty of like high schools around the country. I know plenty of high schools in Iowa. And it looks really good on a silver football helmet. As much as I can share my disdain of the University of Kansas State or Kansas State University, whichever you want to call it, I can admit that they've got a pretty dang good logo, and it looks good on a lot of things.
That's fair. The Wildcat's a little bit plain for me, but I don't mind it. I think I'm gonna go Texas Tech. I love the double T. I like
that was
the double
off the
T.
board.
That one was off. Yeah, that one might be one from left field, but their classic double T is one of my favorites. I think the double T is really cool. It's iconic. It's not like Texas or Texas A&M. The double T truly, to me, at least down here, is pretty unique compared to some of the other schools around. So I'm gonna go Texas Tech with my pick. The next one, I'll probably go another maybe one out of left field. I'm gonna go Cincinnati.
Dang it! That's where I was gonna go. I had them fourth on my list.
Exactly. I like the color scheme. I like the black. I like the red. I like the little paw print on the top. I think that is one of the most probably unique primary logos in the Big 12 right now. So I'm going to take Cincinnati for my fourth pick there.
Dang, that throws me off because that's where I was going to go. So this is where I think it becomes slim pickings. I'm going to go Oklahoma State. I love Oklahoma State's colors. Like, if you just are going logo alone, there's nothing that spectacular about it, but I'm just picturing, the way I did this was picturing logos on things, whether it's helmets or basketball courts. I think it's a solid logo, and that's like, we're at the point of the draft right now where I'm just going off of logos I don't completely hate. And another logo I don't hate is West Virginia. I think it's simple. It's not just a W and a V. There's a little bit of texture to it. Again, looks great on a football field, on a football helmet. But again, I'm not dying to look at the West Virginia logo for an entire day.
We're at the point where we're pretty much just picking schools with letters as the logos. So
yeah,
I'm gonna go Utah. We kind of had a conversation before the show here.
Whoa!
And here's why. How many UUs do you see? Double U's. You don't see those ever. They're like the only school with that logo. Nobody else has those initials for a school. You don't see it.
I had Utah last.
Wow. Oregon does it sometimes with the UO, but the UU to me, especially when they did it for the Rose Bowl and they put that rose between it, was just beautiful. But
yeah, throw the rose on there. I'll have it higher, but man, that
I like the double U, man. I like the double T. I like the double U. So the next one, speaking of U's, I'm gonna go BYU. I think when you just look at the BYU logo, doesn't matter where you are or ask anybody. You can ask just the most casual football fan that really doesn't know a whole lot about college football. You show them this logo, they know exactly what school it is with BYU. So I love them. They have some great throwbacks too, but unfortunately we're not doing those this week. But I like the Y for BYU here as my next pick.
Okay, so you say that you don't see a lot of logos with U in it, and then I'm going to pick one that has a U in it, and it's the University of Houston.
Yeah, which is not a double U though. That's UH.
I'm pretty sure that Utah stole that exact U from Houston. It looks the exact same. I like how is that not the same U?
The Utah's one's 10 times better.
Phonies out there in Salt Lake City. I don't have much to add on the Utah. I mean, again, we're just picking we're picking letters at this point. This was so much harder than I ever anticipated to rank these lists. Then my next one, another one with a unit, TCU. TCU has far better logos than this, but I mean, it's not great.
Look how plain it is.
Yeah, it's so plain. We're in bare bones of Big 12. I mean, if this tells me anything, the Big 12 needs to up their primary logo game completely.
Okay, I had TCU dead last. It looks like they didn't even try. Nobody even tried when they made this logo. It is terrible. It's just letters, nothing else. There's not really like any cool font, nothing with it. Zero.
Well,
that's why they should make the primary logo just the horned frog. It'd be great. It'd be fantastic.
If they had the horned frog, that might be my number one.
It's a pretty good one. That is a pretty good one. So with my next pick, I got to do this. I got to take the block I for Iowa State. Give me Iowa State here. Not the best logo. I think every Iowa State fan can agree. They can agree this is not the best logo by far. In fact, it might be the worst Iowa State logo ever. I think you can make a strong argument for that. It is. So, but I got to take that one. I still think it's cool. The red, the gold. I do like the color scheme in it, even though I absolutely hate the logo. And speaking of gold, I'm also going to go UCF here. I do like UCF's. It's not bad. Gold, black. I do like the colors. At least it's kind of going down there. So there's a little bit of creativity with how they lettered it compared to like TCU that just says it across. So I'm going to go UCF here.
So I was about to make a point that literally every week in these drafts, you just pick whatever is Iowa State because you know who votes on our polls.
I did not. Last week I didn't pick Farmageddon. You picked Farmageddon.
Oh, that's right.
And
well, Iowa State was in other lists.
I still won. By the way, I still won the poll.
But the point I was about to make was maybe this week it'll go with me because of how many people hate the block I State. So they might vote for me because you picked it. So I think that leaves me with Baylor.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. What a logo.
I think the same guy who made TCU's primary logo just went down the road. He just went down the road to Waco, did the same exact thing. I was like, I'm done. My work here's done.
It pisses me off when they've got the sailor bear. That logo is so sweet.
They do.
I'm way more excited for next week's draft. This draft, I think when we were texting about it, sounded fun. But I'm going to see the graphic and be like, gosh, man, my draft is terrible. But there wasn't much to choose from.
That's fair.
We need better logos, not just in college sports, not just in the Big 12, but in all of sports. Minimalism has made uniforms and has made logos so freaking boring compared to what they used to be.
Do you think you're going to win this week?
Probably just because I don't have the block I State on my list.
All right.
I think if you would have left me the block I State as the last pick and I'd be forced to take it, I think you would win.
Okay. Well,
but I also have Kansas and K-State, so maybe not.
Oh. Well, some of them are bad, but you having TCU and Baylor that's rough.
Yeah. Well, and Oklahoma State, it's not.
Oh, yeah, the OSU, the plain, all they do is put the little lines over it. Yeah. Bad. That's pretty bad.
Aiden, just on first viewing, is there any draft pick or lack thereof that shocked you?
I like the Oklahoma State logo. I'm surprised that one fell so far.
Oh, what do you think about the Utah logo?
Though. The Utah logo is the worst logo on this list.
Thank you.
I mean, them and Baylor and Houston, it's just the same copy and paste.
TCU's is just as plain too.
Yeah, no, theirs is definitely boring too.
And Jake has TCU and Baylor.
It sucks because school. I mean, you could say this about every school in the Big 12. Like Utah had an iconic logo. I think you could argue. But yeah, this new one is just it's not it.
I don't mind it. I don't mind the W's.
Eventually, it's going to come around, and eventually, we're going to get back to like the 90s NBA logos or just like the early 2000s college logos. Eventually those are going to make their way back.
They should.
Or
I think
not
more schools should wear throwback. They should honor the throwback.
No, I'm not saying throwbacks. I'm saying like that style of art and that style of graphic design, I think will make its way back in the next 10 years. Because right now we're at the point where everything is identical to itself and just is so boring.
So
I'm not a fashion guy. Don't worry. I'm not even close, but
yeah, I'm not really a fashion guy either. I wear fishing shirts all the time. But when is the damn eye block going to go? When is that son of a bitch going to go?
probably when Jamie Pollard is gone.
What, 10 years? 5 years?
Yeah, probably in that range.
It's time. It's been what, since like 2008?
And you can tell Matt Campbell, he
Hates it.
I
don't blame him.
He goes
hates
away
it.
from it.
Hell, he doesn't even wear the school colors half the time.
Exactly, yeah.
He wears black all the time.
So, I mean, it was like 2007, 2008, I think, when the Block Eye State was debuted. That's almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
And Iowa State's an institution that has changed their logo a lot. Probably a lot
Exactly.
more than most schools. So I think eventually it's going to change. And I've seen people that like it, which is just weird to me. I've never understood.
I haven't met them. I have not met one person that's their favorite Iowa State logo. Look how many great Okay, there's some rough ones early on there.
Well,
in the 1800s. but
Every logo in the 1800s is going to be iffy.
They probably didn't even have paper to draw on back then, but still, I think there's some really great logos once you start getting into 1965
Yeah, pretty much 65 and on.
to 2006. I mean, that's 40 years of great logos, iconic logos, and 2007 we're going to change to the Block Eye, and then from 2000 what's the change from 2007 to 2008? What's the difference in that one?
I think it was just color. I think.
Oh
the
yeah, I
color,
can see the
color
state's
got
not
tweaked.
outlined. Oh,
I think the
wow,
color
that's
got tweaked a little bit.
such a great change. Yeah, no. Give me the clone NATO there. Give me the 95 to 2006 logo.
I mean, I'm a
19
19
94. That's
No, I'm a 79 to 83 guy.
okay. You like
Walking side. I've got that on my ankle.
I'm with Jake on this one. I'm a walking side guy too.
Really?
Yeah, walking side is my favorite logo.
I kind of like the bugle there with the
It's
Iowa
literally.
State.
Oh, come on.
I do like that one a lot too.
That yeah, I like that one. I thought you were talking about the actual bugle from like a decade ago.
No.
But no, I've got walking side tattooed on my ankle.
I think the one from 84 to 94 is the best, along with 95 to 2006. Those are probably my two favorites. Walking Side is pretty cool too. I would just have the other two above it.
This is a fun show.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see who wins our draft, or if anybody even votes in it. Because they're like, a lot of those logos
are awful.
suck.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, another good show. We're getting through the off season. We're getting close to summer football. We'll actually be able to maybe preview some football soon. We're getting
Inching closer. Just a one show at a time here.
But thanks to everyone who listens. Be sure to support our great sponsors, WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax, Freedom Tire, Channel Seed. Thanks to everyone who makes what we do possible. We'll be back next week on Bigger Than 12.